What's happening, everyone? Hope you are doing well. Welcome back to yet another client interview. This time, I am joined by one of our incredible clients, Amrit, who is one half of Creator Force, right, Amrit?
Yeah, that's correct.
There we go. One half of Creator Force. Shout out to Chris, who's currently on holiday, but hopefully I can have a chat with him down the line. But yeah, for quick context, guys, these guys joined our mastermind and actually got access to EasyGrow and all that good stuff, and they have absolutely smashed it. And they're what I'd like to refer to as silent sharks because the way I found out about them doing so well was at our event last week when Chris, Amrit's business partner, randomly brought it up out of the blue. So yeah, shout out to you, Chris. Amrit, obviously, I know who you and Chris are and all that good stuff. But for the people watching this, why don't you introduce who you are, who you serve, and the transformation you deliver to your clients, man?
Yeah, sure. So, hey guys, my name's Amrit. So, me and Chris run a marketing agency for financial advisors. We started off doing DFY, so done for you organic content. We built out a system to help financial advisors sign clients, not just book calls. And yeah, since we joined the program, it's kind of been exponential, been hockey growth style growth for the past sort of 6 months or so.
Yeah, amazing stuff, man. And just to paint a picture, in the people's mind here, Amrit, where were you, revenue-wise before you joined the program compared to where you are now, 6 months later?
Yeah, so when we joined, we were at around 40K a month, and we've just hit 110 as of this month.
Yeah, amazing stuff. And again, this was sprung out of the blue. So if I didn't have that conversation with Chris last week at the event, I guarantee you guys watching, these guys wouldn't have told me because they just like to get their heads down and work. So fair play to them. But yeah, killer stuff, Amrit. And the crazy part, like I said to you, is for context, guys, Amrit and Chris have only been to two of our mastermind events. They've consumed what they needed to consume in EasyGrow, and they're absolutely smashing it, and they're just getting started. So, Amrit, what drove you guys to join the mastermind and easier to even begin with, man? Just talk to me about, what triggered you booking a call and going from there.
Yeah, so we were part of a another coaching program, and we kind of hit a ceiling on in terms of the growth we could hit in that program. It was
Hmm.
really great for getting us off the ground, but we wanted something a little bit more advanced. We were super interested in Charlie's content. We've been fans of him for a while, his mindset stuff, and just the way he thinks about solving problems. And so we wanted to get involved. We looked at Easy Grow probably about 6 months before, and it
Yep.
just felt like the right time to sort of jump in. And so yeah, we jumped on the sales call, spoke to Bronco, who's obviously this head of sales, and yeah, we were convinced we were convinced it's the right move.
Yeah, that's it, man. Love it. When you say you reached like a cap at the original program you were at, obviously you're still doing quite well. I think it's like you said there, 40K a month. What was stopping you from going to the next level with what you had originally? Like what were some of the problems you were facing, man?
Yeah, we just didn't know how to scale past that figure. So we hit a ceiling on that figure, and there was a lot of operational issues, a lot of sort of sales issues on the back end. And we were looking for advice to basically take it from where we were then to kind of where we are now, to be honest, from around that 40K figure to six figures plus a month. And instead of trial and error, we knew that Charlie had done it before. And we knew some of the things that Charlie was good at. So, like, for example, scaling ops,
Hmm.
building out repeatable sales processes, things like that. And so we kind of knew the direction we wanted to head in. We just didn't know exactly what we needed to do and implement. And yeah, we knew that Easy Grow could basically get us there. So that's why we joined the mastermind.
Yeah, perfect, man. Amazing. When you say operational issues, what were some of the specific issues you were facing, like before joining?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things at high level. We had quite a lot of operational bloat, so we were doing loads of things really inefficiently. We weren't tracking anything, like a massive one. Looking back on it, which was really dumb at the time. Now thinking back, is we just didn't track anything. And the
Yeah.
first thing that you have to do as part of the mastermind is submit a really comprehensive and thorough form of everything to do with your business. And me and Chris had this really long call where we kind of just looked in the mirror a little bit. It was like, we just know nothing about our business. Like we don't know enough about our business really for us to for us to actually be making progress. And that was a bit of like a wake up call. It's just small things like that really.
Yeah.
And on the sort of more recently as well, the transition to DIY.
Mm,
It's really hard to find good content out there that is comprehensive, that tells you how to transition from DFY to DIY, the right time to do so, how to build it out, how to build the product out, some of the core modules that you need, etc., how to launch. And
yeah.
um, that's been a game changer for us as well over the past sort of 3 months or so.
Yeah, for sure. And to touch on your like the first half of your answer there, it's so funny you say that because like I can just imagine you and Chris just looking at each other thinking, "Oh my God, we built a six-figure business," but it's like we don't know
No
what we're
idea.
tracking.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a cheat code for Charlie and Bo when they do that, kickoff call because they'll probably look at that and like, "Oh, this will be easy. We'll just grill Amrit and Chris and tell him what are you
Yeah.
doing." And it's super funny, man, because I think we got a client called KJ. So shout out to KJ if he ends up watching this. He's also a mastermind client. He was literally making a good amount, but on our client interview, he said the same thing as you. He's like, "Yeah, no, I just bootstrapped it. I didn't have sales metrics, appointment metrics.
Yeah. We
It,
we
it was
had
just, yeah,
we had nothing, and just on KJ as well. One real big benefit of the mastermind is just how much of a valuable network it is. I know this is kind of a bit
mm,
of a tangent, but we've worked with KJ on recruiting for our business,
nice.
and we've brought in some really solid people as a result. So that was another thing as well, just finding new networks, finding reliable people to work with. The mastermind is incredible for building a network.
Yeah, 100%, man. We'll definitely touch on that. And yeah, it's funny because like my brain is so locked in across the different sort of groups we have. I remember the exact post KJ made. And then I think you or Chris left a comment, so I'm glad that worked out.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely love it, man. So Amrit, talk to me, man. When you joined the mastermind and also got access to the program, talk to me about how you and Chris approached things. So you obviously had that call with Bo and Charlie. You realized you were operating off of vibes, and vibes did get you to a really good point. What was the action plan following on from that, man?
Yeah. So the first thing was streamline the business, focus on top line. So our actual conversion metrics were super solid. That Bo
Nice.
and Charlie were sort of indicating to us that that might mean we're undercharging for our service. And so like really simply
Mhm.
added on 10 to 15K in MRR by just changing pricing, which was like a massive boost to revenue, and also completely shifted the focus as well, moving away from delivery and more towards sort of like the sales side of things. And then we just sort of streamlined, moved away from fulfillment more as well. So brought on people, got rid of some bloat um, from like a recruitment perspective. And those are the two real helpful things at the start. The massive one as well is just tracking everything. So we track everything now. Our finances are fine are by the line item now, and so is the sales metrics and stuff. And so we have systems for everything, like client
Yeah.
results, finances, sales, marketing. um we track everything, and a lot of it's automated as well. So um that's been a game changer for like monthly reviews, weekly reviews, setting priorities, things like that.
Yeah, love it, man. And I know tracking was obviously one of the biggest things. So obviously back then you weren't tracking anything. Fast forward to today, you seem like you're tracking everything, which is great. For people watching right now, can you give some examples of what you're tracking, Amrit? Whether it's like your appointments, your even
Yeah.
your fulfillment side of things, the rev, all that good stuff, bro.
Yeah, so I'll split it out into sort of like three buckets.
Hmm.
Starting with sales. So from sales, we track outreaches, we track responses. So we use a lot of organic as well at the moment. We've got a lot of
Yeah.
organic flow. So we track open rates of the messages we're sending. We track website view rates, so click through rates of the links that we're sending. So we track all of that stuff. Obviously, book calls. We have a really comprehensive type form as well, which gives us all the information of the value of the clients that we're speaking to. We also track from a results perspective every single client's organic results from first touch point, which is in Charlie's content. This is sort of like the fundamental piece of how you improve your business. Is you track every touch point from um, whatever your system is. So for us, it would be impressions on YouTube all the way through to the close rate, and basically the transition from each part of the funnel, each part of the system to the next. So we track all of that, and then finally, from a finance perspective, it's everything. So expenses, revenue, LTV, average revenue per client or unit, We track near enough every sort of like output metric as well around um, internal metrics around sort of like output. We a lot of stuff is
Yeah,
like qualitative as well, so like how people are feeling about certain work and things like that. That's just a
nice.
good gauge as well of how we're doing overall.
Yeah, absolutely love it, man. And as a founder, man, what is the feeling like going from not tracking anything, right? Then still doing well from a revenue standpoint to now where you are now, where from what you described to me, you literally have a pulse on every angle. Because the reason why I asked that is because there'll be a lot of people watching this right now where they're probably in a similar position to you, Amrit, where it's like revenue numbers great, fulfillment numbers great. Why should I care about different metrics? Let me just ride off the vibes and whatever.
Yeah.
But there's still that sort of voice in your mind where it's like, yo, your business can collapse at any second. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, man, on how you feel as a founder compared, like before compared to now.
It's just complete control, you know, like if you know
Yep.
what, you know, even if you haven't solved the problems, if you know what the problems are, you can turn up something like the Easy Grow calls or the mastermind calls or even the mastermind itself with very specific problems that you're looking to solve. And that's exactly what we've done, to be honest. Like over the past
Yep.
couple of masterminds, we've got very specific problems around things around the business that we're trying to resolve, and you don't know that until you don't know what you don't know. And so unless you have that clarity, you can't turn up to a call, or you just don't know where to look to find the
Yeah.
answer. um so a good example is obviously like the sales call one that we've
Yeah.
got. Like, not if we didn't know that metric, then it'd be very hard for us to turn up to a
Yeah.
call and go, how do we improve our sales process, and
Yeah.
to be told that we're all good. So um yeah, it's just
Yeah.
clarity of mind and control, really.
Yeah. And I just wanted to people watching this right now, I just want to touch on that example specifically because if Chris and Amrit didn't know their sales metrics, they'd think their sales process is probably broken. But when they actually figured out their sales metrics, I think Chris, like we spoke about, Amrit was closing at like something ridiculous. Like what was it? Like was it not 90% or something? Like
It's somewhere in that
not.
ballpark, yeah.
Yeah, it was
For a
just yeah.
while he was closing at that
And
insane
he'd
number, yeah.
and so Chris didn't actually realize that, so he thought his sales process was broken, but it wasn't. It was perfectly fine, and it's funny because Chris and Emre they've been to two events. Obviously, Emre couldn't attend last week's one, but for context, Chris asked, "What can I do to improve my sales process?" Nothing, nothing, because look at your metrics. So, yeah, amazing stuff, man. That's so good to hear. So, Emre, you guys obviously joined the mastermind and that had EasyGrow included, right? But that was in December. Then your first event was in at the end of March. So talk to me about what happened between that December and March window in terms of transitioning from starting the steps to transition from, doing it for you to doing it yourself essentially. Like what did you do before in December
Yeah.
to that first event, bro?
Yeah, so there was a couple of things that we needed to get in place basically before we wanted to go to DIY. The first thing was um, hit like the minimum threshold of results for clients,
Hmm.
which is Charlie speaks about this a lot in the Easy Grow content, which is you have to hit a minimum number of client results in order to be able to
Yep.
transition, because at that point you know it's a repeatable system. And so we uh, basically did everything we could to track all of the metrics for every single client to understand why we
Love
haven't
it.
achieved all those results yet. So we did put a lot of time and effort into building out that system. We then got those client results, and then between that, that final month or so before the first mastermind, it was really just about like, what does that final product, what do we want it to look like? And we came to the mastermind with a bunch of questions around like just very basic, to be honest, questions around like how to build it out, what should we be worried about, what should our focus be around building it out. And then since then, me and Chris have just been like completely locked in for like 16 hours a day, just grinding on this course every single day, building it out, getting a good feedback loop with people, making sure we've got like the basics down. And so since that mastermind, we've just done like the only focus has been creating the DIY product.
Yeah, incredible stuff, man. And for people watching this, this is the crazy thing. Like, Amrit, for context, this product is it finished it or are you still polishing it off?
Yeah, it's launched.
Okay, perfect, amazing. So, well, people watching this is version one of the product. So it's not even going to be version two, version three. And Amrit, you obviously know this because you watch Consulting Nirvana. Like the product never stops evolving.
Yeah.
So you can see the impact this version has had. Imagine the impact that five products down the line we'll have. So incredible work, man. Absolutely love it. One thing I want to touch on, man, is obviously you mentioned how you know, just before we started talking here, when you first had that initial kickoff call with Charlie and Bo, you got one pointer immediately and you just executed on it, and that alone increased the MRR of the business. So if you can touch on that, man, that'd be great.
Yeah. So the big change was understanding how to interpret the metrics really. So again, like the metric was
Yeah,
an insane close rate, like an 80-90% close rate. And we were really proud of that number. And then we turned up to the call and Bo and Charlie were like, whoa, if you're closing that high, it probably means you're undercharging for the product.
yeah,
And the first thing we did then was like, okay, well, what do we charge? What's a more realistic price to charge? And Bo and Charlie helped us sort of like price gauge that a little bit. And then we just went and price tested, and we continued to see those results. Like we continue to see super strong results for at a higher price rate. And that just added on like 15K in MRR, like instantly within, we upsold some of our current clients to that price point, which has generated, I think, since like an extra, I mean, it's at this point probably near enough, 100K in total revenue since we had that conversation.
mm,
And for every new client we bring on, it's just I think um, profit our profit margins around sort of 70% at that
beautiful,
price
man.
point, 70 to 80% now. So it has completely changed the health of our finances quite
Yeah,
significantly. And just like the type of client we're bringing on as well, like that the client is much more engaged, they're getting much better results. So
yeah,
yeah.
love it. Amazing stuff. And I love what you said there at the start, where it's like the interpretation of metrics. Because what looks good on paper, you may be like, "Oh my God, this is great," but then when you flip it on its head, it's like, "Oh, this isn't great." So, the most common one, right, is revenue versus profit. So whenever you see the stripe screenshots and whatnot, and then to the untrained eye, you'd look at that screenshot and you'd be like, "Wow, this guy's crushing it." But I'm in operations, for example. I know behind the scenes, like, actually, this guy's barely taking home anything because the systems aren't designed in the right way. And in your case, it's funny because you spoke about the closing rate. A lot of people watching this right now would be like, "Oh, Amrit's killing it. Amrit and Chris are killing it. They got an amazing closing rate." Well, actually, if your closing rate's incredible, almost too good, it's an indicator that you need to increase your price. And that just, shifts your paradigm entirely, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think on both sides, like that, the from a revenue perspective, it means that you're not, from a pricing perspective, it means you're not charging enough. But on the other side as well, like the other thing I forgot to mention on for when we spoke to Bo and Charlie was um how our profit margins were around sort of like 50%. And immediately the guys knew that we were probably like a little bit lower than where we should be for our revenue point,
Hmm.
like 40K a month. We should have been really at sort of like a 70%
Yeah.
profit margin. And so again, like the other thing that the guys did was just sort of like figure out how we could strip out some of that heavy bloat, the cost that pulls down our margins quite considerably. And one of the things we did was um, refer out part of the most expensive part of our costs. So we found partners to basically work with, and just allowed us really to focus on, again, like increasing our bottom line, but also our revenue at the top as well. So
Yeah, love it. Great stuff, man. And touching on EasyGrow, Amrit, I know you said obviously we'll get into the mastermind in a bit, but on EasyGrow specifically, I know one thing you mentioned was the lack of information out there from transitioning from done for you to do it yourself. How was your experience with consulting Nirvana, man, in terms of going through that content?
yeah, I mean, I've honestly never really seen anything like it in the level of detail.
Hmm.
We've done quite a few of these sort of we've done a lot of courses and stuff and a
Yep.
lot of training. It's just super directive, and that's something that a lot of other material and training courses miss. It's a lot of it's theory, of course, that you have a lot of the background, but a lot of it is super clear and directive in terms of here's step one, here's step two, here's step three, which if you've got like a 3 month sprint to turn a product around, it's very clear what you need to do when. And also, Charlie's been through it, Bo's been through it, you've been through it as well. You kind of see how hard it is to transition. You've got basically two
Yep.
businesses running in parallel.
Yeah, yeah.
And so again, just the expectation setting of what to expect when, Charlie speaks about this a lot around it always takes an extra month longer than you think.
Yeah.
And so the first thing we did was actually add in an extra month into our timelines to accommodate for the fact that it just takes a long time to build out a good
Yeah.
product. So yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way of operating, man. And like you just said there, like with Bo and Charlie, I think a common misconception, and it's a surprise to a lot of people when people join the program. It's like, oh, Bo and Charlie just done this for EasyGrow. It's like, no, they actually transitioned from done for you to do it yourself with the gym marketing agency. And you
Yeah.
can check out you can check out that website, to this day, because Bo and Charlie still own it. It's called Flow Consulting, but that was a done for you agency. They went to do it yourself. And it's the same flow here where we got this massive info product with EasyGrow and whatnot, and it's still doing great. And I love what you said there about timeline, Amrit. That's another thing. Like you've worked with us, you know that we're realistic, and you'll see my famous outro that we do. We don't, sell get rich quick schemes or nothing, but adding the extra month and setting beyond realistic expectations. It's important to accommodate for any hiccups down the road, right? And it's funny because like whenever we have like a product change or we have yearly goals as a company, I'm very pessimistic, so I'll just say, yeah, this year's goals, that's next year's goals. Let's just let's just add another year, forget another month, add another year. So I think that's a bit too extreme, but it follows the same principles. But it does help, right, when you're planning things out and you're definitely doing a transition like that.
Yeah, I mean, like you can shorten timelines, but you're going to sacrifice quality, basically.
Yeah,
And the team are really big on quality. They don't want like low quality DIY products under the EasyGrow Imperium name. So
yeah,
it's really important that you just get like a good product out. And again, like Charlie does a good job of really defining what good looks like. Like if you've
yeah,
got a poor product, it's very clear what that is in terms of um, the metrics to look at, but also just like the feedback and the structure of a poor product. There's also pitfalls of like creating DIY because you've gone from DFY to DIY, like having the level of
yeah.
interaction is a lot different.
Hmm.
And it's useful to have a structure, a skeleton to follow that you guys use for EasyGrow that allows us to basically have the right level of mix. You guys, I think Charlie mentioned this before, where he was kind of speaking about how in the course material, speaking about one of the biggest changes they made was adding again like the right level of interaction into
Yeah, big
V2 and
one.
V3. Yeah. And again, just having that insight at the start allows us to skip those steps and we can then just focus on more around sort of like how do we just improve the overall product rather than like find solutions to things where you guys have already found the solution. So yeah, it's helped us like skip steps 2 and 3. It's probably helped to save like 6 months of time,
Yeah,
really.
there we go, man. And how much are those 6 months worth, you know? That's,
You're telling me. You're telling me.
that's there we go. Love it. So Amrit, let's talk about the product now. Let's just touch on it briefly. So you went from done for you to completely do it yourself now, which is fantastic. So how does it look compared to now, compared to before? And then I also want to touch on what we spoke about just before about that wait list you got going on, where you still have done for you in the back end, and now you got like a sick graduation ascension model. So I'll hand the mic over to you, man, because it's an amazing setup you guys got now.
Yeah, appreciate it. So we have a system that we sell. It's a complete sort of like end-to-end system. Um, there's a mix of things like audits. So we provide audits on organic side of things. So whether that's ideas, titles, thumbnails, things like that. Um, we then also have like a middle section, which is the funnel. So how we push viewers from our product, which is YouTube, through to the website or whatever the next step is, the VSL. And we basically give, again, like based on a lot of the work that you guys have done, very directive, clear advice on like
Hmm.
what to do when, and a lot of the theory around it, so that they can focus on the right points at the right time. Um, and yeah, so the product is basically like a full end-to-end system from when they first see you on YouTube all the way through to signing that final letter or contract, whatever it may be at the
Yeah,
end,
love it.
to sign those clients on. And what we've basically realized is that like the top sort of like 10% of those in DIY products, based on again like what you guys have spoken about before, and also more generally the level of engagement of DIY products, the top 10% of the people that you want to work with through that ascension model, from a more DFY perspective, because they're more engaged, they've learned how to do things. They're just looking for time savings and also to just take it to the next level. And so we have an ascension model which takes it from our DIY product, and once they hit certain thresholds and benchmarks, they then progress onto a DFY, to the DFY side of things, which is obviously where we take control. And that is basically how we do our um, our outreach basically for our
Yeah.
DFY. It's just using the DIY as our sort of like input into that.
Yeah. Absolutely incredible, man. And what's the pricing models for both, like done for you and do it yourself?
So uh, do it yourself is around sort of like the 10K mark
Hmm.
over 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, yeah,
That's kind of like forever changing with price testing always with that as
yeah,
well. And then for DFY, it's sort of normally around that 5K mark a
yeah.
month. So again, it is premium,
Nice.
but it's premium for a reason, you know.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I love this, man, because like what we teach, that you've seen it, obviously it's a straight up, right, simple, let's just stick with, let's just take your business from done for you, shift it to completely do it yourself. But you and Chris, another thing that we teach in Acquisition Genesis, think for yourself. So you and Chris obviously assessed the situation and you looked at it and said, well, Charlie and Bo are giving some great advice here, but actually for us, we're really good at this, done for you stuff. Rather than have do it yourself replace it completely, let's just set up an ascension model. And now it's
Yeah.
just working seamlessly.
Yeah, exactly. And we build systems for it as well, you know, like the systems that we for us to scale the way that we need to scale, we're just building out systems and delegating and recruiting the right way, which takes a lot of time to do. But if you've got the right clients, then it's a good investment to make. So yeah, we did deviate slightly from the advice, but it with the right intention, and we're going to test it and
Yeah.
we'll see how it goes. But so far it's been working pretty well.
Of course, that's like the best example of deviating in the right way, where it's
Yeah,
like, okay, great, thinking for myself, but I'm not shooting myself in the foot, right? Because we've had
exactly.
clients where like they want to think for themselves, but they're jumping off a cliff, and I have to say, yo, don't go down there, man. Like I'll try to save you, but when you and Chris were touching on it, I was touching on it, and Chris, especially in last week's event, it made sense. Where it's like, wow, like when he mentioned the wait list, which by the way, like
Yeah,
you can touch on that. You got a whole wait list of people that want to work with you on a done for you basis.
yeah, we've got we've got a very long waiting list. We've probably got like a 10 plus person waiting list at
Yeah,
least for DFY. Um, but the essential model is there to basically just litmus
yeah,
test people to see how committed they are
yeah.
for like a 12-month engagement. So
Absolutely fantastic, man. Amrit, let's touch on about the mastermind specifically, man, because I know, you touched on it briefly just a while back where the networking and all those good things. But yeah, just speak to me about how your experience in those events so far. I know you've only been to one, Chris has been to two, but you've been in the community and whatnot, and like how valuable have you found those, man?
it's been insane. There's so many benefits to them. Um, just as soon as you enter, it's just pure value. So you have obviously the coaching call directly, and then every week you have direct calls with Charlie, with Bo, with yourself, with Brunker, and I think a few others
Selway.
as well. Selway,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
So direct you get direct contact to the people that have scaled businesses to what is it, 7 figures, 8 figures now. So
Yep.
to get to that insight is just directly asking them direct questions. And the groups like the groups are good size as well. You know,
Mm.
like it's not 1,000 people trying to ask their questions where
Yeah.
you run out of time before you can get your question in. The school community is super active, super responsive. Again, super helpful to get that there as well. But to be honest, because you after the first few months, you already have a lot of the information that you're ready to move forward with, and so a lot of it is just like building on and listening to what other people say, a lot of the other problems people have, and sort of just working and reacting in the right way, which you don't always get with coaching programs. Sometimes it's quite difficult to get new advice on new problems. Like for example, for us, because we're now scaling a bit quicker to obviously 6 to 7 figures, hopefully. Um, the advice that we're looking for is completely changed to like six
Yeah.
months ago. And so you kind of need like the mastermind's great for having such like a variety of different people who have like killer opinions on a lot of different levels of expertise. So that's really great. And then in terms of the actual masterminds themselves, they're like really well run, really interesting, a bunch of different topics covered. It's not just sales or finance or fulfillment. It's actually like everything, mindset, etc.
Yep.
And again, you just get to ask any question that you want at any point, really. And so as long as you know your shit, as long as you know
Yeah.
your stuff, you are in a really good position to just to get. It's impossible not to get value out of the mastermind.
Yeah, that's it. Love it, man. And yeah, for the mastermind, it's basically for those that are making north of 20 to 30K a month, right? And that's why it's so important that the group stays as, a good size as it is, Amrit. So then Chris, people like yourself and Chris can join and it's not overinflated. With EasyGrow, it's different because we help out beginners as well, but with the mastermind group, there's a lot more intimate support, which is fantastic. And one thing I really love what you said there was when you said you go to one event or something and then you take what you need and that's it. Like you just action. And it's funny for me personally because like obviously I head up fulfillment here on the back end, whether it's EasyGrow or the mastermind on the group and whatnot. If I don't hear from a client, I'm like, man, what's going on with them? But from my experience, like I said, silent sharks, they'll just tell me, oh no, I just didn't have questions. I just took what I needed and scaled to six figures or
just
something.
just locking
So
in, man. We're just locking
just
in.
like,
Like we're in a dark room for 16 hours a day for the past 3 months, just trying,
yeah,
just getting this to be the best it can be. But
yeah,
on the other side of that, you you do ask if you have questions, you do ask them and you get the best response. So you're not getting responses that aren't actionable or don't give you some value, which is why you just get or it's just so valuable because it's not like the team don't know an answer. Everyone has some level of responsibility that will basically tell you the right answer. Like if it is
yeah,
fulfillment, then Noor, you'll help. If
yep,
it's sales, then Brunker will help. If it's more ops, then if it's more sort of like finances and ops, it will be Bo. And if it's more general questions, it will be Charlie. So
hmm
there's a person for every question, basically, which again
yeah.
is like insanely valuable.
It's like that meme. I don't know if you've seen that meme where there's like 100 swords and the guy just sat in the middle. And obviously, I'm
Yeah.
saying this in a good way, but it's like rather than 100 swords, it's like 100 answers, in different directions. So yeah, it's exactly like that, man. And yeah, super happy to hear that you and Chris have found it valuable so far. And yeah, just for context for people watching this, these guys have only been to two events. Amrit specifically has only been to one, and look what's happened. So fantastic stuff. Amrit, talk to me about team size, man. How does your team look now compared to before? So obviously it's you and Chris, but who else you got in the, in the organization?
Yeah, so we brought on a business partner, so SME with specialized knowledge, a financial advisor, Eric. He's been
Nice.
fantastic.
Wow.
I think Charlie mentioned this in the last mastermind, which is um, the best business or best product out there always has someone with expertise in the actual business,
Mm-hmm.
and Eric has an incredible knowledge of how to scale financial practices on the other side of things. So the more technical details, which me and Chris are building now. We have an ops manager, a head of copy, a head of ideation. So again, before we had a lot of smaller roles which were more dispersed. We've just centralized everything into a fewer roles, but um, they're just more involved roles. So there's just better learning pathways, there's better progression. And again, like Charlie spoke about this in Dubai in the mastermind I went to, which is sort of just like how do you manage that? How do you manage the highs and lows of sort of being part of a team,
Mm-hmm.
and how do you keep everyone motivated and on track? Which again, you just don't learn this stuff. You don't learn this stuff until you try and find the information out yourself, and then you like just to have a source of it is good.
Yeah. Love it, man. Love it. Amrit, touching on the mindset side of things, you're already doing quite well, but it's still worth asking you in case you had any sort of limiting beliefs beforehand. And obviously ask Chris this separately, but how does version one of you look like compared to the version I'm speaking to right now? So when I say version one, I'm talking about the version that was you before you joined the program. Like, did you have to have any identity shifts to achieve the success that you have now? Did you have any limiting beliefs around transitioning from, done for you to do it yourself? Talk to me about the mindset side of things, man.
I think when you don't have like a clear mentorship group, you kind of try and find like um a ruthless motivation from anywhere. So you kind of like grasping from anywhere to find motivation slash conviction to act, more so actually than motivation. So you're trying to find conviction from anywhere. Luckily, me and Chris had each other, which is good because we can bounce shit off each other,
Yep.
and we're quite good in that sense. But when we joined the mastermind, I think I just became a lot more ruthless in many ways. So
Nice.
just moving, as you can see, moving quite fast. We move fast now. So um, instead of being, Bo said it in the Dubai one, you decide to move, you decide to act when you decide to act. Like you
Yep.
decide to move forward and grow your business when you decide to move forward and grow your business, which is like, it sounds so simple, but you do forget it because you get wrapped up in the small day-to-day things. And I think that was something that was kind of unlocked in both me and Chris, which is just like,
Yep.
let's just decide to move and see what happens later on. Things like the limiting beliefs over pricing and things like that, or just like immediately dissipated when you're speaking to someone that's making 7 or 8 figures
Yep.
every single month. There's a paradigm shift in terms of like what you think the business is capable of when you speak to people
Yep.
that are doing numbers that you want to achieve.
Yeah, love it. Beautiful stuff. One as we wrap up the interview, I just got like two, three more questions. One of the questions I wanted to ask you specifically, man, because of what we spoke about just before. What was the fear on buying? Because obviously before purchasing, Chris was all in. I know Chris was all in, and Branka made a joke about that. But are you specifically? You naturally had your reservations, and rightfully so. It's a big purchase and whatnot. But yeah, man, what was like stopping you from going instantaneous and diving in like Chris?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it was like again, it's just that ruthlessness to act, like the
Fair.
conviction to just like
Yeah.
move forward quickly. Um, and I think when you have someone like Brunker who is ruthlessly confident in the product, it pushes you over the line in the right way, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like that's where me and Chris is more of a
So yin and yang, isn't it? We were
yeah,
speaking about, yeah.
exactly. But I
Yeah.
was I was always open to it. I was really keen on it. I've been a big fan of Charlie. It was just it's almost like the whole like when is the right time question.
Yeah.
And if you it's just an excuse, like the best time to act is now. So I had like reservations around that, but it's almost like in that call that was like the penny dropped a little bit around like, okay, you're making a commitment. That commitment's going to lead to you making more commitments that change the business. So just make the first commitment. and
Yeah.
then and then from that point on, that was literally how it happened. It was like you make the first commitment,
Yeah.
and ever since then, our growth is just like it has just gone like that. So
Yeah. Beautiful stuff, man. Amrit, one of the last questions I wanted to ask you. When did you start this business? You said 2 years ago, yeah?
yeah, coming up to 3 years in a couple of months.
Cool. Coming up to 3 years. So, for people that don't know, I'm sure Amrit won't mind me sharing this because they're at such a great point right now. Amrit and Chris, and I was so happy when Chris told me the story. They were just sat at a pub, all right? They worked at the same company. They were tired of their jobs. Amrit literally looked at Chris and said, "Let's start our own shop or our own business, as per se." 3 years later, they're now at 110K, or almost 3 years later. So now they're at 110K a month. And I just want to emphasize that at the time, I think, Chris, and I think maybe yourself, Emrit, you wanted a raise of like 1K annually or something along those lines, and the bosses just weren't giving it. So the reason why I wanted to preface this, man, is because it's been such a wild ride, right? It's almost been 3 years where you were in that corporate role, you hated it, you were at that pub with Chris, and now fast forward today, you're at 110K a month, right? Talk to me about how it feels, how life looks like, and just your emotions surrounding that, man.
Yeah, it's insane. It's kind of it's quite literally a different world. Like when you're in a 9 to 5 job, your whole perception of like what you think you can do or what timelines are, again, like how long things should take to achieve like a certain salary or whatever, like completely. Now
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
inexcusable to think about that as a acceptable change in
Yeah.
salary over a 12-month time frame. But you kind of have to like pinch yourself sometimes. I mean, to 10x your business 2 years in a row is and like
Yeah.
I can't really, it's hard to wrap your head around it a little bit. But when you're just in the mode of working, again, like you're just surrounded by people who are doing similar stuff, you just normalize how exceptional the results are a little bit as well. So you're like completely
Yeah,
gassed about it, but you just want to keep pushing. Like you just want to keep going for more. You just want to keep growing this to something that is like a pretty special size and business. And um, that's where we're at the moment. Like your motivation doesn't change really the bigger you get, or at least mine and Chris hasn't. Like we just want to continue growing this. We're really hungry to just get this like to be a huge business in like the financial advisory space. So um yeah, you pinch yourself sometimes, but man, we're just motivated. We want
yeah,
to kill it. We want to take it to the next level. So
yeah.
might do one of these
Beautiful
in
stuff,
12 more
man.
months.
Yeah, 100%, man. I was gonna say I already know your the next goal because I spoke with Chris is that 500K a month mark, and based off the numbers and projections, again, comes down to tracking metrics. It looks
Yeah.
like we're gonna get there real soon. So yeah, absolutely love it, man. Amrit, what would you say as we wrap this up? What would you say to so before I ask the question, so for context, there's usually two groups of people that watch these interviews. The first of which are existing clients, whether it's in EasyGrow or even the mastermind, and the second of which are people that have yet to join our program, whether it's EasyGrow or even the mastermind. So let's start off with EasyGrow and even the mastermind, man. You've been with us for 6 months. What would you say would be the best pieces of advice to existing clients to succeed?
Just get involved, man. Get involved in all the calls. Make sure you watch all the material more than once. Like you should kind of be fluent in the do's and don'ts.
Hmm.
Um, and then just make sure you know what, like you're putting in the time. You're just being relentless with your time, understanding your business, understanding your problems, and it's kind of impossible to fail if you just do those things. Like if you understand where the problems are in your business, and the materials are there, and the calls and support is all there. So it's just about making sure you're putting the time and effort into to get to that level where you're on the calls asking the right questions.
Yeah, love it. And what would you say to those that have yet to join our ecosystem and they're probably on the fence thinking about it? They may be reserved like you were at the start. Now that you've been inside, right? Like, what would you tell yourself like 6 months ago, basically?
Yeah, I think if you're questioning whether you should do it or not, question how quickly you want to grow your business. Like
Yeah.
if you want to grow your business fast and you're committed to doing that and you have the self belief, then this should be a no brainer. If it's not a no brainer yet, it's probably because of a limiting belief around whether you can achieve the growth for to get an ROI, on the
Yeah.
product. And almost certainly, if you think you are, if you back yourself and you're ruthless and you put in the time, you'll get an ROI,
Yeah.
and it'll be worth it in six. I mean, took us quite literally 3 months, 3 or 4 months to get an ROI on this.
Basically. Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
not bad.
no, exactly. So
Yeah.
it's so just back yourself and just go
Yeah.
for it, and you'll be thanking me later.
Yeah, 100%. Get Amrit some cheeky commissions.
Yeah,
By the way, we do actually have a referral scheme for the mastermind,
there
Amrit,
you
so
go.
you might want to get on that.
Exactly.
So yeah, what was I going to say? And yeah, Amrit, sorry. One last one, which feels like I've said that like 3 times, so I do
It's
apologize.
all good.
For people like yourself, right, and Chris, where you already established business owners, and there'll probably be some established business owners watching this right now. They'll probably ask themselves like, no, Amrit, like, why should we join a mastermind if we're already doing so well? So obviously
Yeah.
with you and Chris, you're already doing really well, 40K a month, right? Like, talk to the people that are already in a great position. Why should they join the mastermind and what difference can it make to them to get to that next level, man?
Yeah. I mean, you don't know how well you're doing until you're around people that are doing much more than you.
Yeah.
Like to put it simply, like you think you're doing well until you're around people that have like insane products, insane systems, and the mastermind is a really great place to get access to those people. It's not just the team; it's actually the people in the mastermind are very friendly, very open. They all have
Yep.
different businesses. They all have different skill sets, um, and so the combination of speaking to people that have a product that you're looking to build or have some aspects of the product you're looking to build or just a business that is every business has sales and marketing and operations and stuff, having experts in those fields but also people in different fields where you can find the best bits and put it in your business or vice versa is invaluable. Like it's kind of mind blowing to me, um why more people haven't already joined, because it's like instantaneous value. You know, as soon as you join,
Yeah.
you get the calls, you get access to the network, you get the actual masterminds themselves, which are like just pure networking events, and you get to meet loads of people in a very relaxed, chilled environment. So just do it would be my
Yeah,
suggestion.
th- there we go. Love it, man. Beautiful stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the interview. Amrit, where can people find you and Chris, man, if they want to keep up with what you're doing? Do you have like a YouTube channel, socials you want to share?
Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter at Katcar Amrit,
Mhm.
and the website is www.creatorforceiq.com as
Love
well.
it. Creatorforceiq.com. So, guys, I'm going to leave that in the description and then you can keep up with Amrit and what him and Chris are doing over either on Amrit's Twitter or the website. So, yeah, love it. Guys, mark this as a part one. I certainly am because these boys are going to be flying. So, this is going to be part one. And obviously, hopefully, Amrit and Chris are not too busy for me in a year's time and we can get part two in the books. And hopefully, Chris can join us. But yeah, absolutely incredible stuff, guys. And it's time essentially for my famous outro. If you are watching this part of the interview now, Amri, I don't think you've witnessed one of my outros, but by this point, people are logging off as we speak because they're probably tired of me saying it. But if you're watching this interview, you've come across our ads, YouTube videos, you've entered this crazy online world of ours, and you've been sold the dream by some people on the internet where you can turn on your computer and live on the beach, and suddenly you have a Rolex on your left wrist, and a Versace robe, and then the Ferrari on standby, and the sun's shining, and you got the palm trees, and you can just type away, and you close your laptops, and boom, $10,000 in the bank, and you think our program can help you do that, and you can join and you can get 10K, 20K, 30K a month in like one day or something. I can assure you this program is unfortunately not for you. It is not a get rich quick scheme, okay? It requires hard work and it requires you to actually put the time and effort in, just like Amrit has, which is very ironic because Amrit and Chris have literally tripled their business in like 4 to 6 months. But again, they already had good foundations and they joined the mastermind. Um, and they were able to scale efficiently. But yeah, if you guys want a get rich quick scheme, I can assure you this one isn't it. As I always say, if you do end up finding a get rich quick scheme, send it my way. I'd love to enroll in something that will give me the Lamborghini in 1 week. That will give me, crazy amounts of money without having to do something. So, I say that jokingly, but I do say that on a serious level. Find me, send me it. On a more serious note, if you are someone that is willing to put in the work, effort, time, and actually take your business to the next level like Amra and Chris have, or even start your business, right? Feel free to book in a call with us. If you're more established, joining the mastermind may be a better fit because with the mastermind, you get access to EasyGrow, just like Amra and Chris did. Or if you just fall under that criteria, you can simply check out EasyGrow because with EasyGrow, you can get to the level where you can essentially join the mastermind, which is what a lot of our clients have done. So, yeah, if you're thinking about it, feel free to watch a couple more of these interviews, do your due diligence. For context, this is the 104th interview that we've done. So we've got 103 other ones. I think I've done about 70 odd, so apologies. You got to put up with my voice a lot more. But that should give you some further confidence that we know what we're doing. Okay. It's different clients, different verticals. We know how to get the job done. So, yeah, hopefully you found this interview valuable and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye, guys. Cheers.